For a closer look at China when it comes to tariffs, let's get to Eunice Yoon in Beijing. A lot going on, Eunice, regarding rare earths, visit to Vietnam, and more. Good morning.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. You guys were talking about those tariff exemptions. The Chinese government, on the whole, over the weekend, had acknowledged that the tariff exemptions were what they described as a small step, and even said that China was evaluating the impact. The state media, though, had said that this was a U.S. retreat, and also more evidence that the Chinese supply chain is really, really important for the world. Today, though, probably because of a lot of the confusion out of the messaging from the White House, the Chinese government doubled down on their overall stance. That is, that the U.S. government should abolish the tariffs and the what they describe as wrongful actions around those tariffs. What was also interesting is that a state TV-linked social media account, which is now closely watched for messaging on U.S.-China trade, just several hours ago elaborated a little bit further, saying that to the Trump team, their, what they call delusion, is China will compromise under high tariffs. The account goes on saying, if the U.S. really wants to talk, China needs to see real action. What was also interesting is that the same blogger account was hinting at who would be taken, what kind of step would be taken next. And the target, they said, was American IP and American brands. And then this blogger went on to suggest that Chinese people could reject them. And they said that they noted that Walt Disney and Comcast, which owns CNBC, have development and production businesses, theme parks, and consumer goods in China. They also mentioned Sony, Paramount Global, as well as Netflix. The messaging, though, overall, outside of that, the potential for countermeasures, is that there needs to be a lot of support for Chinese exporters, and that this is paramount. Carl, you mentioned President Xi's visit to Vietnam. He is there in Southeast Asia on a three-nation tour, ostensibly to try to build up those trade ties. Today, he announced, or China and Vietnam announced, that they had signed several trade negotiation deals. And then, of course, there is the private sector that is also getting involved to try to help redirect some of the goods that the exporters used to sell, and I guess so still do sell to the United States as well as elsewhere, but also to sell them here in China.
Well, I've got to tell you, Eunice, I listened to you all morning, and you've been incredibly spot on all these things. But when I listen to the rhetoric from China, this is 1968, 72 rhetoric. This is the kind of rhetoric that just says there's never going to be a meeting. Is there a way to have a Nixon to China moment? Because as far as I'm concerned, this is just right now. You're on the verge of when I was a little boy. We kept thinking, when are they going to bomb us? I mean, that was the same rhetoric. Well, when are they going to launch their nuclear weapons? I mean, that's why we used to live in fear. That's why we had cubby holes. That's why we used to put our heads in a cubby hole, because the Chinese were going to bomb us if the Russians didn't bomb us. This is the same sound.
Well, I mean, I think that the Chinese have shown that they are willing to negotiate, that they do eventually want to have some sort of meeting. But it's just that the rhetoric, I mean, you mentioned rhetoric coming out of China. The rhetoric from the Chinese perspective of the White House is not actually that helpful, because the way things are being set up is that President Trump is the kingmaker, and that all these countries around the world are going over there and groveling and asking for deals. From the Chinese perspective, this cannot happen. Because for President Xi Jinping, it is so politically dangerous for him to be seen as crawling over to the United States asking for a deal.
Eunice, thank you. Eunice, we'll talk again shortly, I'm quite sure.